And speaking of giving my guests a chance to shine, here is my first guest today. It's Cam Nelson out on the West Coast near L.A. You can follow her on Twitter at CamVTV, K-A-M-V-T-V. Important to follow her on Twitter because that's often, in her case, the main way to follow her. She really utilizes that to the maximum extent, and she not only writes her own stuff on there, but she edits the most important news of the day, and that is certainly something today. While a lot of us may be focused on the shooting in Orlando, and we're in Central Florida, Central Northeast Florida here, so it's a little close to home here, she's focusing on what is a really bigger story long-term in the war on fake news. And without any further ado, let me bring her on and let her tell you about the story. Cam, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Adam, for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Maybe someone didn't hear about what happened in London involving CNN and the fake news anti-Sharia protests that went on, but maybe you could take it from the beginning and give a little background, and then we can talk about the big issues related to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a lot of propaganda news going on, and I think it's becoming more of the forefront of the American people opening their eyes. I've said that we've had an awakening that has taken place, I would say, over the last few years, and that's just due to the fact that the American people are noticing, thank you to the internet of today, are noticing that there are things going on in the world that we're learning that's taking place through different social media venues and outlets and having access to other news in other countries. And then we turn on our televisions at home, and then we're starting to see the spin that is taking place. And it happened in Manchester, in the stat. And I don't ever want to downplay the atrocities that took place, the terrorism that is taking place in the world, because it has been taking place for a long time. But then yet again, our media picks and chooses how they want to deliver the message. And sadly, our television, our internet, even the newspapers back in the days have been taken over specifically by politics, and the stories of what's really going on are actually being removed. The facts are being removed. It's almost as kind of like we're seeing this political correctness of global elites coming in and controlling the way that we view things, the way that we see things, and truly, they're lying. A lot of them are flat out lying. CNN is lying. I mean, Fox News is Fox News. They may have a cable network that is more conservative at the end of the day. If you go to your local Fox News station and they're showing shows that are controversial, if they have actors that are on there bashing our president, bashing conservatives at a live award ceremony, that's still Fox News. Fox News is Fox News at the end of the day. And what we've just seen recently, and it you can Google this, they call it conspiracy theories, but it's not conspiracy theories, because I always say documentation beats conversation. And the sad, horrific atrocities that took place in Manchester, CNN actually was filmed staging staging protests, staging fake news, putting people together that were Muslims, that were holding up signs.
Wait, this was Manchester, not London? I had it wrong?
Well, I mean, London. Yeah, it was London, not Manchester.
Okay, yeah, the one on Saturday. It's easy to get the Muslim attacks on England confused. I understand. There's so many of them these days.
It's sickening. It's sickening that we've even gotten to this point. But it's sad that they've covered this up for so many years. We're at this point, and now we have to deal with it. But what happened, and there are some things that happened in Manchester, and I'll tell you about this. And this is controversial, but you can't beat the controversy. What happened in London is they had about 5 or 6 different Muslim people standing around. They were staging them. They held up signs, and they put this story out there, basically, of course, trying to cover up the terrorists. But everything is just so staged. It's like CNN is Hollywood now. And that's what's happened. It's Hollywood. It is sickening. And they put it on the front page of the newspapers, and then everyone believes, oh, my gosh, these are the Muslims that are in London. And lo and behold, we have the footage that they were putting makeup on them. They were putting them all around. And then what happened in Manchester, this is even more sickening.
Wait, let me just add one thing to that. That they were holding up signs that ISIS is not Muslim or something like that. It was total taquilla public relations. It was almost like a joke. It was the Onion. And by the way, I also want to add that we who are very pro-Israel Jews are aware of CNN having done stuff like this for decades in Israel, especially in Judea and Samaria, that they would have Palestinian Muslim actors basically do the things as soon as the cameras started rolling. And they did this. This is nothing new for CNN.
Well, it's nothing new. And what's sad is when you start looking at some of these people that they're using their faces, you start going, wait a minute, how is this one actor, and I'm going to call them actors because they are paid actors. Yep. How is this actor at the scene at the Boston bombing? How was the same woman at Sandy Hook? How was the same woman in Orlando? Some of these same people, they're using the same actors that happen to be at the same locations. And you
that
can
I was not aware of. I don't know why they would do that. There are enough out-of-work actors out there that they could recycle. I mean, they don't need to recycle.
Hey, during the election, they actually used children actors to ask questions during some of the CNN, live town halls. They had children actors out there. But what happened in Manchester was disgusting is BBC was live. And BBC TV was live, and the reporter, did not know he was live. And all of a sudden, you hear the bombs go off at the arena at the Ariana Grande concert, and the BBC guy was standing right there going, there's the first bomb. And then he was waiting for another one to go off. He goes, there's a second one. People will be ready.
Oh.
So I'm telling you, this is just, when you start seeing some of this, you start wondering what is true and what is not true. And this is why we have the war on, Trump calls it fake news, but they like to spin it back and say that we are the ones that are causing the fake news. No, we're reporting the facts, but they don't want to hear what's happening with the facts. So what they do is they run to the celebrities, the limousine liberals. They run to the celebrities and they have them start tweeting, and Kathy Griffin. They change the narrative. That is the media's, it's liberal media. I'm going to say it's a liberal media. That's their arm. It's to change the narrative immediately off the facts onto something that's going on. Or if it's that, they cause a stir in the media. So if Trump does something good, the left will come up with a scandal immediately to take it off of what Trump is doing to put it back on something different. And it's disgusting, but we've woken up, and sadly we can't turn on the television anymore. So that's what I'm doing is I love researching, and I think the American people, they owe it to themselves and the children to know how to fight this, because whether people want to do this or not, we have no choice at this point but to fight back. We have, our country is at stake, even though Trump is our president. The left is going to pull an all-out war over the next few years. They are. It's happening.
Already doing it. They want to change the subject to Covfefe, Covfefe.
Right.
I don't know how you pronounce it. The typo that President Trump made. They'd rather talk about that than what's happening in New Karachi. London. It's just amazing. But how did they get so sloppy that they would even allow themselves to get caught, or was it just a matter of time? They didn't notice that the guy named Mark Antro or is on. Right. Is that its name? It's on Twitter. It's at Mark Antro, MarkAntro. Got to give them credit. They just did this so brazenly and openly in the middle of a busy street.
Yeah, in the middle of typically what they do sometimes is they kind of rope off an area for things to happen. But not only that, they don't care. And that's what we have to understand. They don't care if they get caught. They don't care. At this point, they don't care what they do, because they will flip it and say it's a conspiracy. Or probably the biggest thing that we notice is if they do get caught, they say nothing about it. Just like the Kathy Griffin.
Right.
If this was a Republican or libertarian, they would go after them. They would have them removed from television. Their career would be over. But they stay silent. They say nothing. So when you pretend like something's not happening, then the millions and millions of people that follow them are not going to be aware of what is taking place. So they have a big audience. So they either say it's a conspiracy theory, or they avoid it like the plague, and by avoiding it like the plague, it's keeping the American people and the world uninformed.
Or it could be something more sinister. It's not even 48 hours since the Muslim Jihad in London. We're not talking about that. We're talking about CNN doing this now. You notice that? This was a terrible terrorist attack. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. This is almost a distraction itself. Like CNN's taking one for the team. Like we talked about Kathy Griffin. That took our mind off other things, all the egregious stuff that's happening on the left. Now, I'm not sure that there was a big story late last week, so I think that was kind of natural. I don't think CNN really wanted it that way. They fired her. And sounds like in that case she was just pretty stupid. But it's amazing. I mean, but they don't, I mean, what do you think? Mike Cernovich wasn't going to be on this immediately and that he doesn't have a lot of followers, and he was. Paul Joseph Watson, these guys. And
right. Right. I mean, that's the thing. Is we're going to pick it back up. We don't forget. We have not forgotten about Seth Rich. They can switch the narrative for the day, but we can switch it back really quickly. And that's what they're not used to. And this has been a shock to them, especially being in a very, very liberal state of California where I'm in. They're not used to anybody going against them. They're not used to anybody on the right or the center playing fire against fire. That's what they're up against. They've never, ever, and really I have to say, it's not the GOP. They're not fighting back. No. I didn't see one person start talking about Kathy Griffin. I don't see the GOP fighting back about Donald Trump. But we have a grassroots movement, and the American people are the silent majority. We're the ones that are fighting the left, so they're not used to this type of fire with fire. I mean,
what is the GOP talking about? Like the next party, the next stupid party they have somewhere?
I mean, I'll be honest. Yeah, I mean, really, I think that's what they are. I don't think really the GOP has changed much whatsoever. We kept everybody that needed to get rid of. They're all still in the House. They're all part of their elite. It's the GOPE because we do have the GOP, but it's the elite. The elites are a uniparty. The right and the left come together. They have an agenda. They will back Donald Trump to get the American people to vote for them. They will say what they have to say to get him back into office, to get reelected. Boom, once they come into office, where are they? I don't see them fighting back, but they talk a good game on television.
Remember, follow the money. You know, you think about who the fundraisers get a nice cut. You get someone connected to the GOPE who's working with a candidate, and you see the emails that go out. We have to raise another $17,428.39 for our 2:38 a.m. deadline, and we need you to do it. I mean, it's the same recycled stuff every time, and you see it. The consultants who place the ads get paid. They get paid while it's fake. It's almost fake opposition. And I know people who do this kind of thing in places like Philly. They don't really care. They're just, it's a nice gig they have going. They get paid well without working very hard, without really putting their asses on the line. And I see it. You know, I see it firsthand.
It's quite amazing. They get paid, what, a couple of $100,000 a year, but they're worth, what, $60 million? I mean, it's just so interesting when you see, really, politics is like, I call it, this is like a corrupt business. It's really what it is. I thought about getting involved in it on a different level, then I thought, my goodness, this is so dangerous. I don't want to get into that ring at this late in the game because it's so corrupt and it's dirty. It's like a mafia. And people look at me and they go, "Are you crazy?" No, seriously, it's especially going from the election. It is dirty politics. But we have the ability to fight back and do something. And people have to know. They can't be afraid and they can't be scared to stand up for something. But at this part of the game, going into 2018, we need more people. We need everybody who voted for Donald Trump out on the streets voting, getting to know who's running for office. And we've got to rally and we've got to fight back because we're not going to act like the left and burn down buildings and do this. We got to stand up. We got to be patriots. We got to fight, but we got to pray. That's the big thing at the end of the day. We've got to pray because our country's
just like
still
Hillary
at stake
Clinton
at
is
this
now.
point.
Her pastor just went very public that Hillary is praying every day now. I mean, isn't that inspiring?
Yeah. Oh. Let me get started on her. Well, that's a great little PR, type of moment. But that woman is definitely just, I don't buy it to save my life, especially knowing and understanding who she is, who she was, and she started at 18 years old. She is one conniving woman. So to use the Lord's name in vain, I mean, that's a big no-no. But everybody knows her heart. This is what I'll say. And I don't want to say everybody cannot turn away from the evil because everyone can. But we will know the fruits. We will see the fruits of who she is, if she really is having that moment of she's turning her life around. But
we'll
for her
see.
if she's praying. Let's just see if we see a difference. But
because genuine people who are really genuine about prayer feel the need to tell everyone about it, right? If they're really genuine,
right.
please. I can imagine what is a possibility here. She's old and sick, and eternity's a long time. That bitch is looking at that. And so it might not be a bad idea for her case.
She probably is praying because her past, hey, I said this so many times, Adam, and I've said this on radio for the past year, you can never, ever outrun a lie. And she knows that. She can blame all the 50 different reasons that why she lost the election. I mean, she can blame everything in the world. She can't outrun a lie. And that's the thing. She can't outrun her past. And her
or
past
murder,
has
for that
caught
matter.
up with her.
Or murder.
You're right. You're right. You can't outrun it. So it's coming back to bite her in the butt. So she's probably praying like crazy.
Maybe the ghost of Seth Rich is visiting.
Revealed.
Maybe the ghost of Seth Rich is visiting her at night. You know, it's an interesting thought. I saw you retweeted Sean Hannity earlier. To come back to the CNN London Bridge, it's not actually London Bridge. London Bridge isn't that far from you in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. But the bridge in London, he wrote, he tweeted, and you retweeted it, quiet on the set, places everyone, places, fake news in 3, 2, 1, action. And, Sean Hannity was in the news lately because of the failed boycott against him that George Soros and his people were organizing.
Right.
And, you just wonder, is there going to be any boycott of CNN based on this total getting busted for fake news situation that just occurred in London? Will there be? I don't know. I mean, is this the kind of activism you're referring to?
Yeah, I mean, there won't be any. I mean, we turned off CNN during the election. We hurt the ratings. Mm-hmm. Anytime something happens, people turn on CNN just to see what's happening. No, there's not going to be a boycott of CNN. I think it's going to take something major. It is going to take something very major to take down CNN. Why? Because if you look at everybody that owns all the major networks, the easiest thing for them to do is to take down the conservatives. Right. So when you look at MSNBC, NBC, Fox News, CNN, they're all owned by liberals, and they're all partially owned by Saudi Arabian princes. And they can make arms deals with America. They can do everything to save face, to get whatever they need. It's still a liberal move. Look at Cheryl Atkinson. Cheryl Atkinson, if people don't follow her, she is an investigative journalist that used to be on NBC. They fired her. Why? Because she came out and was speaking. Yeah, they fired her. So the easiest thing for them to do is to get everyone on the left, a mob, to come together and take them out and use money, because money is a weapon in politics. So no one's going to boycott CNN. It will literally take the act of God to take CNN down, because, I'm using an Apple phone. They're liberal. Everything that we use. My electricity company that I pay here in California, they donate to the Democratic Party. So, this is like the world against us. Yep. And against that. So no one's gonna turn off CNN until they get to the point to where they keep pushing this Russia stuff to where they look ridiculous. And it's at that point. And I did have a conversation with my husband's barber. He's a Chinese man here in Southern California. Mm-hmm. And he lives in a huge Chinese community. And he said, we are all leaving the Democrat Party. He said, they have lost their minds. He said, the Democrats here are nuts. The television is nuts. He goes, they talk about Russia. Everyone comes on and says there's nothing with Russia. And then they come back and talk about Russia again. He said, we are seeing the liberals try to make people believe something that we know it's not after 8 months. And we are sick of it. So people's eyes are waking up. I think that's what will happen. CNN will not stop. And Anchor told me once at CNN, I get paid to read from a teleprompter.
Right.
And he told me that's the RSC. Yeah.
Then they can have a thinking type like Brian Stelter, who's a complete tool. Just look at the guy. Sometimes looks tell you everything you need to know. And you know what? If he somehow had a crisis of conscience, there would be 1,000 people ready to line up and take their opportunity, saying if it's not me, it's going to be someone else.
Honestly, the liberal media, the liberal news right now, I call it infotainment. It's infotainment. They are like you said, the media relations propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. That's what they are. They are not news. They are infotainment. They are talk show hosts. They are not journalists. They are not out on the street. They are not digging for news. They're sitting behind a teleprompter reading whatever the editors and whatever their producers tell them to say. Yep. And, of course, their talking notes come from the DNC. They collude with the DNC on what they want to push. So this is all premeditated Hollywood politics is what's taking place. But not only that, they put the news into Hollywood movies. So we're surrounded by this, and now we're seeing it on billboards. We're seeing it everywhere. So you just have to be able to discern what is push propaganda and what is actual real news. And typically, you have to do your own homework for that, or watch One American News, or you have to go to Sean Hannity's show and listen to him. I would say more so on radio. His radio show is where you will hear the nuts and bolts of what is really going on, because Sean Hannity is definitely limited on the evening time news on what he can and cannot say per Fox News. And he'll admit it on his radio show. So if you don't go to his radio show or have his station, download iHeartRadio, subscribe to Sean Hannity, both of his podcasts, and you can listen to him live every day. And it's, 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock Pacific time. Yep. So it's, 3 to 6 o'clock Eastern time. Listen to that. You've got to be informed. Yeah.
Let me ask you before I let you go, Cam, about one other thing you tweeted about. You are actively involved. You're on the ground, and I think we haven't talked about this yet. This may be something you're involved with or at least covering. You tweeted, grassroots group launches initiative to defund California sanctuary cities. And I'm hoping you could tell me about that. You put hashtag LeBron on that one for some reason.
You know what? I use all the latest trends. I'm like,
got it.
This is what I do. It's a psychological tactic that I use.
Love it.
I'm not just going to go with the MAGA trends. I'm not going to put MAGA, Trump 2016 or Trump 2020, because then I'm only tailoring my audience to Trump supporters.
I love it.
My job is not to get the truth out to the people that are already seeking the truth. My job is to trigger the liberals into reading what is really going on, because once they turn it back on to CNN, it's going to be, Russia and California is a sanctuary state. So my job is to get to as many people that are not looking for political hashtags, because they deserve to be informed on the truth that there is a grassroots movement that's taking place in two forms. The grassroots movement here in California, there's a group that is challenging the state for sanctuary cities. And it's funny because one of it is Cudahy. It's Cudahy, California. There has been town halls where they're liberals, of course. People are standing up in towns here in California. You're not going to see that on the news whatsoever. But you put a petition together, and if you put a petition together in these small cities, it only takes 64 people in the city to sign a petition to actually go after that city and actually sue them. So there is a grassroots group here that's going from city to city, not doing it to the state, because if it's a state, you've got to have millions of signatures. It costs so much money. So the grassroots movement really is going into hundreds of cities, getting sometimes 50 to 64 signatures. Once you have those signatures, you can actually put together a lawsuit and go after the individual city. Now, if you think about it, we are so blessed to be able to have the Supreme Court, because we know everything's going to be rejected in California for the Ninth Circuit, all the courts here. But if it goes to the Supreme Court, actually conservatives win, thanks to Gorsuch. But, yeah, there's a big grassroots movement here. But not only that, we've got about 4 lawsuits here over the gun situation. They are changing the name of guns. So there's a grassroots movement here. No one's talking about the lawsuit. They have gone to the state of California. They've gone to the highest court in California, and it's going to the Supreme Court. So a lot of the gun laws here was pushed on a grassroots movement. We go to the Supreme Court, they're going to overrule it, and we are going to win. So that's what we are actually doing here. I've signed as many petitions as I possibly can, and you just have to really keep up with the news, really online news, to find out what is happening. But there's a big movement taking place in California that no one is talking about, and it's very surprising when you get out there and talk to people, that there are more people that are fed up with what's going on than what they're portraying out there on the news.
Right. Well, hopefully I can help get the word out a little bit, and I will try to make some clips for you that are easy for you to retweet, because I can imagine that helps you get out the message from the conversation. I wasn't so good about it last time, but I'll try to be better about it this time to give you stuff on YouTube that are user-friendly, minute, half, 2 minutes left, 2 minutes or so that people can easily digest, because we've been on for over 20 minutes here. One last thing, I think you'll appreciate this. I just saw this come up on my Twitter feed from McClatchy, D.C. GOP strategists say Republicans plan to make 2018 a referendum on the media. It's a great idea, especially given what we talked about. I know we're wary of the GOP, but it's such a good idea, and CNN is just making it very easy for them, that's for sure, over the last week.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, you know what? I mean, there are limitations, there are laws that we can set in place. We have the numbers. So if there is a problem with this, and we have the numbers in the House and the Senate, then why not? I mean, in any other country, what CNN is doing, they would all the network would be shut down. It would be gone. But yeah, let's just see if that actually does play out. I'm not really sure about that one. They could be talking a good game. Why? Because they want to win 2018. So you have to understand how these guys think.
Yep.
So everyone right now is hating on the media. So what is our politicians going to do? Talk about how they're going to take down the media. Well, we'll see about that. So is that really something that they're going to do? Or are they doing, again, looking for votes for 2018? That's how
and I'm sure we'll get an email saying that they have to meet their 3 a.m. deadline of $50,161.82. And so send now, and it's the same boilerplate for every GOP candidate.
And vote McCain, right? That's what we'll get. McCain's going to take down the media. So that's what they're going to do. So just be aware, keep your eyes open, and know that are they doing this for political reasons? Or are they really, because actually they could do something today. Why are they waiting another year or 2 years to do something? Why aren't they jumping the gun and doing something about it at this moment?
Exactly. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that burst my bubble on that one. So who knows? But Cam, it's been great talking to you. I always appreciate having you on, even though I'm saying that as if I've had you on more than twice. But no, it's good, and I hope to have you on again soon. Thanks for coming on with me.
All right. Thank you, Adam.